Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Small Obtainable Goals. I'm Sean, and today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. My sister's not going to be helping me, but I am going to be interviewing somebody. That somebody is Heather Antos, and she is a mental health advocate, and also she works in comics. She's also just an all around great person. So have fun, enjoy, and hopefully this will help you. All of her links will be in the description below, and also I'll have a little title card at the end so you can watch that too. All right, thanks. Have fun. All right. So I guess let's get started. Who are you?
I'm Heather Antos.
Yes. And what do you do?
I edit comic books. I'm very bad at talking about myself.
I know. So am I. It's totally fine. But
uh,
yeah,
yeah,
you edit comic books. You're a mental health advocate.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you're pretty good.
I primarily, yeah. I mean, I was gonna say, I'm known mostly for probably my work on Star Wars, but I also do Star Trek, a bunch of creator-owned, independent stuff, and
Mhm.
um, I am a very vocal advocate about just self-care and mental health and setting boundaries with work and people in your life and not taking any shit.
Yeah, that's what I'm really going for this channel.
Yeah.
So that's all pretty cool. You worked for Valiant for a while too.
Yeah, for a couple years. Yep.
You live
Yep.
by a train station, apparently.
I do.
Train
Well,
tracks.
I mean, everyone lives near a train. I'm in New York,
Yeah.
so
That's cool.
everyone.
So, what does an editor actually do?
I hate this question.
I figured that you would, but
Yeah, no, it's a lot of different things. A lot of people tend to think an editor is a glorified proofreader, right? Like there's a
mhm.
lot of and I mean, shout out to copy editors and proofreaders worldwide because their job is insane and I would die if that was my sole role. But yeah, a lot of people don't know that a proofreader, a copy editor is an entirely different position, especially in
Mhm.
comics. In comics, an editor is kind of like a stage manager or a showrunner or a producer. It is our job to source ideas, cast talent, give creative notes and feedback on story, communicate with marketing, communicate with sales, communicate with design. It's, part-time therapist, part-time
Yeah.
creative director. And, for like 15, 20 different projects at a time.
Mhm.
Like I'm probably managing right now, just off the top of my head, close to 50 different creators on various things. And I love it, but it's exhausting. There's a lot going
Yeah.
on all the time.
Yeah, it's always seemed like one of those like jobs that like people only notice if they're really bad at it.
Mhm.
Like if that makes sense. Like I've seen a few books that like, people are like, well, the writing team stayed the same, the art stayed the same, everything stayed the same except, I don't really like the way that the story's going right now, and that's usually because like, oh, they switched editors or something.
Mhm. Yeah, there's that. I mean, there's a lot of, you never want to point the blame just solely on one person. It's a team effort, across
Yeah,
the
no,
board.
definitely. The only time
But
I've ever seen it not be a team effort was like in like I don't know if you've ever read any like Japanese comics like manga or anything. I see like I've seen a lot of like even artists like over there like creators they'll like full on blame the editor if they like mess up something, which sucks for the editor, but yeah.
that's also the role. I mean, that is, when you decide to take on a job like this, um, the creator should get all the praise and the editor should take all the blame. Like like that just kind of is how it is. Um, I didn't become an editor because I wanted the spotlight. I became an editor
Mhm.
because I wanted to help people make cool shit. So,
Yeah, pretty cool.
but that's also just kind of like life, right? We blame the things we don't understand. And so,
Yeah.
when you don't understand how the sausage gets made, you're always going to blame the amorphous role that
Hmm.
um, that you can just make believe has the responsibility of things that, like editors like this one trick. Well, we a lot of people have this misconception that we have like unlimited power and can just wave a magic wand and
Yeah.
fix everything.
Hmm.
And like, I wish that was the case, but we are just people too that have bosses that are just trying to do our jobs like everyone else.
Yeah, it's like when people get mad at like, oh, why did this happen in the story? Like, because the corporation that owns the story said it had to happen.
Yeah. Sometimes that's very well the case. But it is what it is.
It is what it is. But it must suck, to get all the blame for it.
You get used to it.
Yeah. You're stronger than me. Sorry for my dog barking.
Oh, good.
All right. What got you into comics? Like, do you remember like a specific book or?
No. My mom always says I drew comics before I knew what comics were. I grew up in a very small town in the Midwest. I like to joke, to paint the picture, when we were bored, we hung out at Walmart. Like, that's how small my town was.
Wow.
But I've always written and drawn my own stories. So like visual narrative storytelling has always just been a part of my life. And like, I grew up with, Batman the Animated Series and, the Joel Schumacher films and Tim Burton. And, like, I grew up with all the superhero pop culture nostalgia that we all grew up with. But I didn't have a local comic shop. I had the Sunday newspaper strips. That was probably my closest form of comics until I was in college and I took an American literature course. And in that, we studied Sandman, which was my first like real introduction to a full length comic.
Yeah. Did you like the Netflix series?
I loved the Netflix series, but yeah, it just completely blew me away. And so from there, I really did a deep dive and a lot of the classic Vertigo of that time. Mm-hmm. And, kind of slowly made my way into the superhero side of things, but have definitely always been more interested in like the grounded, gritty, darker side of creator-owned comics, which I think in my work, everyone can see because that's a lot of what I do.
Yeah, I remember I got my start. I mean, I always read like superhero comics growing up, and I was obsessed with Spider-Man and Batman and stuff. But then, like, when I realized that it could actually be like a real medium was like in middle school, because one of our like elective classes, they gave us a copy of Mouse to read.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh wow, so like comic books can actually like, teach you something too, and not just have to be about superheroes and stuff, which was pretty cool.
And not to say that superhero comics don't teach us stuff. Like, a lot of times I think we tend to get it's very easy to overlook the lessons when it's a giant thing, right? Literally fighting aliens.
Yeah.
It's really easy to gloss over some of
it's
the
like
lessons.
X-Men, how people miss the point half the time about like, oh, it's about prejudice. Oh,
like, we just want to see a guy shoot laser out of his eyes.
Yeah. There's a lot of people who want to get into the industry. How'd you get your start?
I mean, anyone who wants to pursue anything creative, it's just doing it, like that's, I wanted to edit comics. So I started editing comics. Like I, a lot of it is self-made work. If you want to write, and you have this idea, like literally the only thing stopping you from writing is you. Literally the only thing stopping you from drawing is you. Literally the only thing stopping us from most things is ourselves. It's if the goal is to write Batman one day or the goal is to write Spider-Man one day, like I always say, like, I fear that's a little too myopic, especially because it's not like, oh, the Batman writer job application is open, I can just send in my resume. And like, that's just not how it works.
Yeah, you gotta start out small.
Yeah, and realistic. And the Batman writer that wasn't the first thing he ever wrote. There's a lot of, what's the saying, like 10,000 hours, 10,000 pages, right? You got to do 10,000 pages before you're an expert, quote unquote. So yeah, I say like it's just doing it. And for myself, I've always wanted to edit comics. Like once I discovered it was a job in the industry, it was something that really interested me. And so I literally just started self-publishing and putting together my own projects and reaching out to other creators that I knew and saying like, hey, I will help maintain a schedule. I will help, proofread stuff. I will help deal with all the wrangling on the behind the scenes, because all a writer wants to do is write, all an artist wants to do is draw. They don't want to deal with the other bullshit. And so
Yeah.
I will deal with the bullshit so you don't have to. And you'd be surprised at how many people are excited about that.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've made my own comic before, and yeah, it would have been great to have someone who dealt with all the bullshit in between.
Yeah. So yeah, and so I did that. And throughout that time, I was networking with editors, other publishers, and that's how I met Jordan White, who later was my boss at Marvel. And he saw a lot of the self-publishing work I'd done, and when they had an opening, he asked if I wanted to interview, if I wanted to apply an interview, and went through the whole interview process like everyone else, and ended up getting hired and worked for Marvel. And I guess the rest is history.
It's pretty cool. You made Gwenpool. We'll help make Gwenpool.
Yeah.
You might actually be Gwenpool. No one's really sure, but
where is she? There she is.
She's literally everywhere on the wall.
That's true. She is. Well, her and Afra, they're both there.
Yeah. So when you started out, were your parents supportive of it, or were they kind of like, is there even any money in that? Because when I told my parents, I was like, oh, I want to be a comic book writer, and they were like for the newspaper, is that even a thing? And I'm just like, no, I mean there's like a million MCU movies, and they're like, yeah, but that's different.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think my parents really understand what I do. I don't think they ever really will. They both still live in the same town that they went to high school in, and God bless them, I love them. But I will say they definitely taught me the power of hard work and discipline. And we're very when I was in college, I was studying theater and film, doing a creative thing was always going to be my goal and passion. And, my father always had concerns about, we'll be realistic and blah, 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 and options.
Yeah.
But they were never no, you can't do that. It was always just make sure you're thinking it through and be smart about it. I don't think they really fully understood what a big deal Marvel was or the things I did until it got them into Disney for free. When they got to go with me to Disney for free, I think that's when they were like, oh,
whoa, we get a free vacation out of this?
Yeah. I was like, oh, this
shit.
is kind of nice. Oh, I guess she might be a little more successful than we thought.
Maybe she's doing okay. Yeah, maybe she's doing okay.
Maybe she's all right, So that is, but they don't understand it at all.
But at least they're supportive. That's good.
Supportive. Yeah. I mean, I can support myself, I'm doing well. And so they're wise enough to know, we might not get it, but she's okay.
Yeah. That's how my parents were with, right now I train dogs and dog walking and stuff. And they were like, can you even make money doing that? And then I started being able to support myself and doing well. And they were like, oh, wow. Okay. This is cool.
Right. You don't have to be a doctor. That's not the only way.
Yeah, I know. Well, mine was always, you don't have to hate your job, to make money. And they're like, I don't know. Cause my dad worked a shitty job his whole life. And then, he hated it, but I think he wanted more from me, but he was also at the same time, he was like, I don't know if you can support yourself by being happy. I don't know if that's even possible, but I was like, I'm going to give it a try. All right. So random question. What came first, your Star Wars love or Star Trek?
Oh, Star Wars, hands down. I mean, they kind of started around the same time. I would say, because I grew up, you know what? I might have watched Star Trek before Star Wars. I don't even know.
Did you grow up with Kirk, or did you grow up with
Picard, TNG. TNG is what I grew up with, definitely. That was what was always on TV, was that. But like around the same time, you know, my dad would be introducing me to the original Star Trek films or Star Wars films. And then, you know, I was the right age when the prequels came out. I got to see literally all 3 prequels as class field trips in school growing up.
Wow.
Yeah,
Really
I
is a
know.
small,
I had a cool school.
yeah. One of the benefits of being in a small town, I guess.
Yep,
They're
our
just like,
class
oh, what do
got
we
to
do with
go.
them?
We get to
Yeah.
go see Star Wars.
What do we do with them? Like, let's just take them to the movies. Like, okay, screw it.
Yep. Yeah, and so, you know, I definitely went deep dive Star Wars. You know, all throughout college, I was in a Star Wars tabletop RPG group that went on for 6 years. You know, I never thought of myself, because I was so surrounded by nerds, that I never really considered myself like a hardcore nerd, because it was just the norm.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I actually got the job at Marvel and went to Marvel and was like talking Star Wars with Nick Lowe, who is, you know, super high up editor of Spider-Man. And like I was talking about something and it just like went right over his head. He had no clue what I was talking about. And it was that moment where I was just like, I'm that person. I've become, you know, I am that nerd. Like,
yeah. It's always kind of like reaffirming to figure that out, but then also you're just kind of like, maybe I should tone it down a little bit. I don't know.
I always thought of myself like, even like Lord of the Rings. Like I was, you know, like every 13-year-old girl, like obsessed with Lord of the Rings at the time, and like actually taught myself how to write in Elvish, and like actually excuse me, like was like super high into that stuff, and still like to this day can write some Elvish script. I can read Arabesh. Like I've always been really fascinated with foreign languages and stuff, if you can't tell. But like for me, I was like, oh, this is just fun. And like it still isn't weird to me. Like to me, it's like normal, and like this is just what you do when you love something. And like to everyone else, they're like, you're the weird one.
Yeah, no, it's always funny to like that was like how my doctor diagnosed me with OCD, because she was like, you get really obsessed with whatever you like, don't you? And I was like, yeah, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, but normal people don't do that. And I was like, oh, okay. So it always seemed normal to me. Like, oh, you really like this character? Well, get every comic book you can get about him.
Yep. I mean, that's yes.
Seems normal to me. I don't know. All right. So let's get down into the nitty-gritty stuff.
Alrighty.
All right. You've been really open about your mental health story, which is really cool and like helpful. Do you want to share like, you know, what you deal with?
Yeah. I mean, like most millennials, nihilistic millennials. No, I've been diagnosed with clinical depression since I was probably 9 years old. I have,
Nice.
yeah. I've been depressed my whole life.
Yeah.
It can only go up. And I have generalized social anxiety. I have CPTSD. As I like to say, I'm just a bundle of adrenaline. It's just all the time, always. And it, you know, for me, it's always, every day is a struggle. Every day is a journey in different ways, shape, and forms. Every day is an adventure. And you know, part of what helps the bad days for me has always been like vocalizing. A lot of times, like once you say it, it's suddenly not as bad, not as big of a deal. Like,
mine's always been, I like make dark jokes about stuff. It's like, yay, depression, the one thing that'll, you know, maybe kill you, but you have to live with it.
Yeah.
You know, like weird jokes like that. And like other people will be like, what? But then like that just helps me. I don't know why.
Yeah, and I do that too. But I think for me, I found like just being honest and like vulnerable and just being like, yeah, I feel like shit today. Today sucks. Today, things are not okay today.
Yeah.
And just like being honest about it and owning it and not being ashamed, because that's the thing, right? We, especially in this day and age of social media where we feel like we have to be 100% and perfect and on, and yada 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 all the time, and this veneer of perfectionism, like, is so draining and so toxic, that, you know, for me, I really wanted to, the fact that I have the platform that I have, it became very important for me to like share, like, hey, shit's fucked up. I have really fucking bad days, but I can still be happy and successful. Like, you can still be
Yeah.
successful, you can still be happy, you can still, achieve awesome things, even though you don't feel great all the time. And because, like, I know for me, a lot of times, like, I never felt like I would amount to anything. I never thought that I would be capable of doing anything. I never thought anyone out there could possibly understand or feel what I felt or am going through. And, you know, that's where I found my deepest friends and connections and like the comics and stories and everything that I read growing up. And, to see that in real people, that are successful, I think is really important. And it's why I talk about it as much as I do, and try and raise awareness and just kind of like help normalize it.
Yeah, that's my goal with everything.
Yeah.
You actually helped me like immensely. Like, my dad died 4 years ago, and like I mean, he we were broke like entirely, and found out that we had a bunch of debt and all that jazz. And then so like after that happened, he just went to work one day and then didn't come home, and it was like out of nowhere. And then so like I was just like starting up a GoFundMe and all that jazz, but like at the same time dealing with the death of my dad and like
Yeah.
trying to like be strong for my family. But then like I'd used you for single. I think you did Signal Boost Sundays, or was
Mm-hmm.
it Saturdays? One of
Yes,
those.
it was Sundays. Yep.
Yeah, and then I was just like, fuck it, like it's worth a shot. Like I just asked you, and like out of the 20 people that I asked, you and one other person were just like, yeah, sure, just send it to me.
Yeah.
And you just posted it, and you didn't ask anything. I mean, like most people just ignore me, which is cool. I get that, but you just said, yeah, sure, send it to me. And then like there were a couple of people who were like, yeah, sure, as long as you like, comment, and subscribe on this channel. And I was just like,
Mm.
Jesus Christ, like I don't have an Instagram, sorry, can't do that. Like, then I can't help you. Like, okay, fuck you then. But yeah, that was really great of you, and
Thank you.
I've been eternally thankful for that.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry about your father, and yeah, like it's when I do things like Signal Boost Sunday or like a lot of the mental health awareness, it's all about, like, for me, trying to build a community where we support each other. And it's not about what can I get out of this, but what you can do for someone else.
Yeah.
And like for Signal Boost Sunday, for instance, when I was doing that before I really blew up my mentions, the whole thing was like, I will boost you, but you have to boost other people.
Yeah.
That was always my one rule, was it's not about boosting me. It's not about liking or following, subscribing me, but I want to make sure that you are paying it forward for someone else too. Just to really get out of this me mindset that the world wants us to be in. And more so like, how can I help and support other people? Which is super important.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely is. One of my like, I guess they call it like the come to Jesus moments, those like epiphany moments. But like a few years ago, like one of mine was just like, I just want to help people, like I don't really care. Like I've never been like really into money or anything like that. Like money's great and all, but like I don't need to be a billionaire or anything.
Yeah.
But if
What?
I just, if I'm just like happy and I can live my life the way I want to and like help people, I'm good with that. So that's always been my take on life.
Yeah.
Alrighty. How do you deal with toxic fandom? You've been kind of the target of that a lot.
What? A successful woman?
Yeah. There's nothing men hate more.
No, it's really true. Well, other than themselves.
Well, yeah. I
But,
think that that's where a lot of it comes from. I mean, if a lot of people like just go to therapy and you'll
I mean,
probably feel better.
that is how I deal with some of it. Sometimes if I'm feeling, because a lot of times I just ignore or block. But if I'm feeling sassy, I have saved in my phone like, you seem to enjoy lashing out at strangers on the internet. Have you ever considered therapy? Here are some resources, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
and I'll send that to them. Because
Well,
that's
that's
my,
like that's always been my like thought, like because like a lot of like people that are like mad all the time are usually it's they're not mad at that. Like I
Mhm.
mean, it's like when you get mad at your car for breaking down. You're not mad at the fact that your car broke down. You're mad that you're stuck on the side of the road and like crap like that.
Yeah, like
So you just find outlets.
I'm not a real person to a lot of these people. Like, I
Yeah,
don't,
exactly.
I'm not a real person. I'm a caricature. I both have no power and was just hired to get coffee at the same time that I am calling all the shots at Disney, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's
You have no
uh,
power to do stuff, but you also have all the power to ruin the things that they like.
exactly. But I mean, I have dealt with my fair share, and so many other people. I have the privilege of being a straight white woman,
Mhm.
and there's so many other people who have it far, far worse and definitely do not get the support or sight that I do. And I think that for me, I had to, everyone deals with it their own way. There's a lot of people that choose to, like, well, fuck it, I'm done, I'm off social media. And I do not blame anyone. I do not blame anyone who says, this is not good for me, I don't want to see this, I shouldn't have to see this, and just doesn't want to deal with it and walks away from it. I don't blame you.
Yeah,
Like, absolutely do not.
I get
Uh,
that.
there's nothing wrong with that. For me, um, I'm always the, like, I want to give the biggest fuck you back to the
Yeah,
haters. And the biggest fuck you that I can give back to them is ignoring them and living my best fucking life and showing that, off to the world, that you are not going to stop me. You're not going to silence me. You're not going to make me scared of you. I'm going to keep living my life and literally ignore them. Like, I
yeah,
block, I don't respond. I don't feel the fire, but, we are human, and it doesn't matter if it's Joe Schmo from down the block, an egghead, whatever, getting 100 notifications a day that say, well, I hope you fucking die. Like, this suck. It's not,
yeah, yeah.
it's
No, I
not,
mean, of course it does.
yeah, it's not great. No one wants that. It's not healthy for you. And so, one of the biggest tools I often tell people to, if they ever see themselves starting to come under any kind of heated attention, is to literally remove all push notifications from your phone. That's the greatest thing I ever did. I don't get any notifications from Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, any social media. My phone, I get texts and calls. Like, that is it. That is all I
Yeah,
see, so that I'm not bombarded by attacks,
yeah.
literally.
So you can choose when you go in and see it.
Exactly. And it became a thing for me, before blockchain, so before all of everything. Like, I am choosing, I have autonomy. I am choosing to click on this app. That means I know what I might see, and I
Hmm.
am okay knowing that that is something I might see.
Yeah,
And that really helped me take the power back. And that's what's really important, is taking the power back and giving yourself autonomy and a voice and control. But yeah, blocking is just, there's a lot of people who are like, well, I don't want to give them the win of blocking. Fuck them, block them. You don't need to see
I
that.
always mute just because I just think that's funnier. Like they're like, well, they didn't block me.
Yeah, and that's something too. But for me, I don't like to mute purely because if they're still commenting on my posts,
Yeah,
then
I
they
mean, you have
can.
more followers than me, so
But like, that's the thing, right? I have followers that I love and are so supportive of me, and I super appreciate them, but they'll get sucked into
yeah,
the troll bait, and I don't want trolls coming after them on my behalf. Like,
hmm,
it's just kind of like protect my peace of mind, but also protect my fans and supporters as well, so that they don't get sucked into the chaos, because no one needs that.
yeah,
But again, that's also like, I started Signal Boost Sunday, and I started a lot of the mental health advocacy online in order to kind of change the conversations, like, when Signal Blue Sunday started was when there was a lot of heat in the comics community. And so instead of just constant negativity and constant arguments, I was like, what if we just make this about supporting each other? What if we made this about like
Yeah.
talking about what cool shit we saw?
Yeah. Flip
Rather
the
than
conversation.
yeah. And so I like to do things like that. So yeah, when I see a lot of negativity, that's when I'll often like to like, well, how can we reframe the narrative and how can we flip the conversation? And how can we, you know, bring a little more puppy sunshine and rainbow into everyone's lives?
That's all that people need. I mean, like half the people that I see online, I'm just like, have you ever tried getting a puppy? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, that might really improve your life.
They're great.
They are. I've seen your dog before. She's adorable.
She's the best.
Yes. She looks weirdly like my sister's dog. She's
Yeah.
not from Alabama, is she?
No. She's
Oh,
from
okay.
Texas, I think, originally.
All right. So, what are some things that you do to deal with stress and anxiety?
I'm not great. I definitely am the like overwork person.
Yeah.
But I am getting a lot better. I'm a lot better at not answering emails on the weekend and not working on the weekend. And the big thing for me has been you know, making time every day, making sure I give myself time every day, like for myself to decompress. And a lot of times for me, that's even just like walking the dog for an hour just to get away from everything, kind of zone out, listen to a podcast, whatever. Movement has just been key for me, like going to the gym every morning, or even if it's just yoga or whatever, you know, making sure I get outside, you know, and like allowing myself to have breaks. Not everyone, and I understand that not everyone is as fortunate as I am to be able to work from home and my work schedule and all. Like I'm very lucky to have that. But for me it's like, okay, I am this lucky to have that, so I need to like make the most of it, and I need to, you know, take advantage of that. And I've gotten a lot better at like truly just, you know, today is a bad day. I'm not going to stress. I'm not going to make myself feel worse for not being productive when it already feels shitty. Like I already feel shitty. So today is a bad day and we can try again tomorrow. Just get whatever, you know, whatever priorities. If there's any one thing I have to get done today, even if it's just taking out the trash, great, I'm going to do that. And today will be a success and we can try again tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I think that is what's really important, is to allow ourselves the grace to just be human.
Yeah. That's been the main thing that's really helped me over the past years. Because I mean, I've always had really bad depression and anxiety. And yeah, back in high school, I just thought I was dying all the time, but it turns out I was just having panic attacks all the time. So that's always fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, one thing that I've realized, especially over the past few years, is if you like give yourself small obtainable goals, and like they can even be like stupid things, just like, well, I really want to build a bookcase.
Yeah.
Just go to the store and buy some screws, and then hey, that's a win for the day. All right, you got screws now. Or go buy some Post-its or something, you know, just something stupid.
Yeah, even if it's moving the wash, you know, from the washer to the dryer. Great, we did something. We did a step. And you know, I you know, there's a great oh, I need to eat, but I don't want to make a sandwich. And okay, so don't make a sandwich, but eat a slice of bread, eat some lunch meat separately. You don't have to like, you don't want to make this, but you're still eating. You're still getting nutrients. And so, you know, celebrate the little wins, allow yourself the grace to be human, and just like, we're not fucking robots. Like that's like, we need to recharge.
Yeah. I know that my depression, like, I don't know how yours manifests, but mine usually goes into like, oh, I'm just going to sleep for like 20 hours. And that's always mine. So sometimes like when it's really bad, like a win for me is just like, I'm going to get out of bed and go downstairs. I can do that.
That's huge. I have, so having depression and anxiety, both at the extreme levels that I have, means I never sleep and I just disassociate all the time. So, like, literally, it'll be that I've been sitting on the floor for 3 hours and I don't remember anything that happened.
Oh, yeah. Kind of like when you drive home from work and you're
Yeah.
like, how the hell did I get home?
Yeah. You just kind of like mentally check out. And like,
Yeah.
literally, it will usually be I'm sitting on the floor for hours at a time.
Hmm. That's how it used to be with me for work. Cause like I would just kind of like, I would call it going on autopilot,
Mhm.
and I would just kind of like get done with work, and then it'd be like 8 hours later, and I'd be like, okay, so that's done. I have 3 hours to myself, and then I have to go to bed. All
Mhm.
right. And then get up and go to work again.
Yeah.
So fun. But then, I stopped working a job that I hated, and it took a while to, start making money, but it was way better.
It's
Dogs are way better to
amazing.
work with than
It's
people.
amazing how much getting out of toxic work environments can change your life.
Oh, yeah. Just like completely, like night and day.
Yeah.
All right. Last question. You're a super talented artist. Anyone who follows you on any of your platforms would know. Do you have any plans to like do any like variant covers or in the future?
I mean, if people want me to, like, that's, like, drawing for me has become just such a like mental decompression at the end of the day. Like, when most of my day is in meetings or reading things or giving notes or critically thinking like detailed story stuff, like, yes, art does take critical thinking, but it's a different muscle,
Yeah. And you just kind
Um,
of, you don't know if you want to turn it into work.
well, and that's the thing. Like, I take commissions because I can, and people are
Mhm.
willing to give me money for art, which is great. I'm never going to say no if someone wants to give me money, but but like, I have no Liana Kangas, who's a good friend of mine and a comic artist. She's always like, "So when are you drawing a comic? Like, when are you drawing a comic? I will be your biggest supporter. I will, like, whatever." And it's so sweet. There's nothing I want less in the world than to draw a comic, I think. Um, who knows, talk to me in 2 years and I may completely change my mind. But like, it's purely just like, this is just relaxing for me right now. And if people want me to draw a cover for them, like, great, I'm happy to do it. But I have no ambitions to become like the next great comic artist. Like,
Yeah.
it's purely just for fun. And um, it's nice to have something creative that isn't a job.
Yeah. Yeah. Your art style seems like it would like kick ass as like a like children's graphic novel
Oh, thanks.
with like a style.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that would be amazing. I don't know, something about penguins like and ninjas or something.
One
You know.
day, who knows?
Yeah, who knows? It was great talking to you. Hopefully we can do this again someday.
Yeah.
I'll email you before it, comes out and
Perfect.
stuff.
Cool.
And then yeah, I still have to figure out editing and stuff like that. So
I wish you luck.
thank you.
Awesome. Awesome.
All right. It was
Well,
great talking to you.
go pet all the dogs for me.
I will. I will.
Awesome. Well, it's
Go
so
pet your
nice to
dog.
talk. Of course, always. Awesome. All right. I'll talk to you
All right.
later.
Talk to you later. Bye. Thank you for watching Small Obtainable Goals. Hopefully this helped you in some way or another, or it can, help somebody that you know. If you're having trouble, call 988. That's the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, and they'll, hook you up with somebody who can help you in your local area. It's all free, so, take advantage of it. And yeah, like, comment, subscribe, or don't, whatever makes you happy. I'm Sean. This is my sister,
I'm
Kirsten.
Kirsten.
Yeah. You've ruined it. All right. Thanks, everybody.
And cut.